Hi, I'm Christian Nix, better known as the Barefoot Doctor. This is Barefoot Medicine Training, Better Living Through Ancient Healing Techniques. In this video, I want to talk to you about IBS, one of the worst imaginable digestive and chronic conditions that you can develop in your life. Conventional medicine tells you IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, is a common condition that affects the stomach and intestines. Symptoms include cramping, belly pain, bloating, gas and diarrhea, or constipation, or both. IBS is an ongoing condition that needs long-term management. That part is true, but probably not in the way that the person who wrote that is thinking, as you will see. Now, I created this channel to explain to people exactly why, if you have a chronic digestive condition like IBS, you will never get relief by following the advice of mainstream medical professionals, or you will get very temporary, very minor relief taking something like an anti-diarrheal or an anti-inflammatory or antispasmodic, etc., but will never heal. It's impossible to heal if you're going to treat your condition in that kind of palliative manner, meaning you're just trying to get temporary relief from symptoms. And the reason the modern medical system is so clueless and unable to help people with a chronic digestive condition like IBS is because it's based on a methodology that is ill-suited to something like IBS, to a chronic digestive condition. Modern medicine uses a principle of looking at illness, of understanding the body, that is best described as reductionism. Reductionism means that you can see a deeper layer of reality by reducing phenomena down to smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller units. In this case, what this means is modern medicine relies very heavily on cellular biology or molecular biology and chemical molecules. The reductionist approach is extremely adept at emergency medical conditions. There's nothing that even comes close. For hundreds and hundreds of thousands and millions of years, human beings died from things like trauma, like infections, where in the modern emergency room, all of that stuff is standard. That's what they do every single day. The problem is, that's not what most people are suffering from. It's good to know that you have an emergency medical system to call upon when you need it, but most people are not dealing with traumatic emergencies every day, day in, day out. What they are dealing with, hundreds of millions of people, and it's not easy to get good data on this, but let's say at least 150 million people just in the United States alone are suffering from chronic conditions. And this is not likely to change anytime soon, although I'm doing my best here. The problem with the emergency medical methodology is that it breaks down when you have to treat a chronic condition. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why. In all of my videos, I explain why this is happening. With respect to IBS, there's a particular reason why you cannot get relief from the modern reductionist emergency medical approach. And that reason is because chronic disease is different. It requires a different approach. It requires a different way of thinking about and understanding health and illness. In short, it requires an approach that allows you to understand the connections between the different factors that are driving your chronic condition. When you use a reductionist mindset and a reductionist methodology, and you're tunneling down and focusing down to the smaller and smaller cellular, molecular level, what you lose out on is all the different factors and the context that is surrounding the area where you're focusing your attention. This is a big problem in the modern emergency medical world, especially considering how many hundreds of millions of patients all over the world really need a system that allows the doctor and especially allows the patient to understand how this factor over here is contributing to this factor, and this symptom is actually related to this symptom, and that symptom over there is actually driving this symptom over here. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. Only the ancient medical system that I discovered many years ago during a wild adventure that I had almost 25 years ago really shows you how all the different factors that contribute to your chronic disease, like IBS, all fit together and influence one another. And once you understand this, you actually have the ability to heal your body on its own. If you enjoy this channel and benefit from learning about ancient medicine and how it can help people with modern chronic conditions like yours, then you'll love my new book, The Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto. There's 112 pages of simple, easy-to-understand wisdom from ancient medicine with its elegant system of pattern diagnosis for helping regular people understand the exact root causes of hundreds of chronic conditions, the exact chronic conditions modern medicine cannot help you with. You'll also discover what steps you need to take to reclaim your sovereignty over your health and your recovery. In it, I delve deep into the 4 areas that affect your body's ability to recover from a chronic condition: diet, targeted exercises, state of mind practices, and simple remedies and treatments anyone can use, and which specific steps you need to take in what order if you want to activate and control your body's own self-healing resources. I promise you, this book is unlike anything you've ever seen or read before in the fad diet, biohacking, fad fitness, fad health and wellness, fad everything new age industries. Once you read Patient Empowerment and Self-Care, you'll never think about your health or chronic illness the same ever again. You can get a free copy of my Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto and ask me questions directly twice a month on my Ask Me Anything coaching calls when you take a trial membership to my private community, the Nix Institute for Self-Healing and Integration. The link is in the description. Now, before I get into examples related to IBS, I want to say that ancient medicine is not better because it's ancient. It's better because it uses a different system, a system of pattern diagnosis. And this system of diagnosing by patterns takes into account all the various things going on and ignores anything that you don't have going on. This factor is key because targeting your exact what are called disease mechanisms versus trying to treat a bunch of stuff that you don't actually have, that's the difference between suffering side effects or helping the body to heal on its own. So let me give you a few examples that are relevant to IBS here of what I'm talking about. If you take something like diarrhea, for example, there are multiple what are called disease mechanisms that give rise to the experience of the symptom of diarrhea and having to eliminate and move your bowels multiple times a day. These disease mechanisms are different and they need to be treated differently. You could have a disease mechanism that causes diarrhea because that has to do with a weakness in the spleen. You could have chronic diarrhea because your liver is overheating, which causes you to overeat. And because you're overeating, the body can't handle all the food that you're putting into your stomach. And so it flushes it out without you being able to process it and deal with it properly, leading to, multiple trips to the toilet, frequent elimination, and loose stool diarrhea. You could have diarrhea and multiple loose stools and the constant need to go to the toilet multiple times a day because something is going on in your intestines, what's called dampness, a condition that builds up in your intestines where mucus, very often people with IBS develop mucus in the stools. You could have different disease mechanisms giving rise to the symptom or the experience of diarrhea. And if you don't treat these disease mechanisms differently according to what is causing your particular case of diarrhea, you really cannot expect anything to change. In fact, if you treat the disease mechanism for one type of diarrhea, when in fact there's another disease mechanism going on that's causing your diarrhea, you're going to cause more illness in the body because you push the body further out of balance in a way that it didn't want to go, that it was already too far in that direction. When you understand the ancient medical system that I discovered many, many years ago, studying with an old healer in the forest of Central America, starting in around the year 2000, I met and apprenticed with an old man, Don Jaime, as he was known, and he was just a marvelous, marvelous old-time healer, a natural healer, what's called in their culture a curandero. And I had just an incredible 9-year apprenticeship finding out about and learning about this system of pattern diagnosis from an ancient medical approach that really, really keys in on. It is very powerful in helping people with chronic digestive illness like IBS heal their conditions on their own. In conventional modern medicine, each symptom basically gets treated the same way. But there are different patterns. The patterns are the disease mechanism. The different patterns give rise to the same symptom, like headache, like acid reflux, etc. Ancient medicine takes into account these different disease mechanisms giving rise to identical symptoms, and it expresses these mechanisms in terms of patterns of common signs and symptoms. These patterns are the disease mechanisms. And once you understand the ancient medical approach I can teach you, you realize you have all the tools you need to use this very strongest medicine ever developed by God or man. I'm talking about your body's own ability to heal on its own. I'm talking about your body's own healing system. So here's how you get your organs working together again, the simple everyday things you can use starting right now today. If you have something like IBS, causing either loose stools or dry stools, you need to treat at the level of disease mechanisms. There are foods in your pantry right now that will help firm up loose stools and strengthen your bowels so that you're not running to the toilet 10 times a day and so that you don't have chronic diarrhea. This is a simple matter of understanding food combining and targeting the exact disease mechanism that's giving rise to your particular form of IBS. If you have dry intestines causing constipation and dry stools, there are foods right now in your kitchen that can help you get rid of dryness out of your intestines. It's very, very simple to do. You don't need medications in most cases. You can eliminate dry intestines causing dry stools and IBS-C, as it's called, by just understanding how to combine foods by targeting your exact disease mechanism, in this case, dry intestines causing dry stools. If you needed to get mucus out of your body or mucus that's showing up in your stools, there are things you can do right now, today, and 99% of the people watching this have probably in their cupboard the various things that would help eliminate mucus out of your intestines. This is very, very simple. It does not require a bunch of prescription medication from your doctor in most cases. In most cases, that stuff is probably actually causing you harm and making your job much, much more difficult. You can figure out how to heal your body doing common, everyday things that target the disease mechanism giving rise to your symptoms. And here's the trick. It's not just that ancient medicine also targets the disease mechanism. It's not just that ancient medicine will help you understand your condition in a new way that prevents so-called side effects. A side effect is not something on the side, it's a negative effect. And the reason that you're having it is because you're applying the wrong treatment because you think your condition is X and it's actually Y. The ancient medical approach that I discovered helps you figure all of this out, apply the right solution, and here's the big key that is in some ways even beyond anything that most people think is possible. When your condition starts to change, and it will when you start applying the right situation, you need to change what you're doing to reflect your new symptoms. So if you have IBS, that's a chronic condition. That's not something that appeared last week or last night. Nobody with a chronic condition actually believes that, okay, I've been sick for 13 years, but I'll just do one thing and then I'll be better in 24 hours. That's not how healing really occurs. And in fact, you wouldn't want that to happen because variously in certain conditions, if you take a pill, you will feel radically better while that medication is running around in your system. But what happens when that medication runs out and is no longer in your bloodstream and your body has eliminated it? Well, your symptoms come right back. You don't actually want a miracle cure that fixes your chronic IBS overnight. What you want is a way to eliminate it by helping the body to heal on its own. And this ancient medical approach not only shows you how to target your condition according to your exact symptoms and your exact disease mechanisms causing those symptoms, it actually allows you and shows you and makes it obvious to you, the patient who's living through this misery, how you're going to change what you're doing as your condition changes. So as your symptoms begin to disappear and different things pop up, you're recovering, but your worst symptoms that you were targeting have now started to improve. And then your symptoms shift, they morph, they change into something else because the body is trying to adjust. So you don't heal in a straight line where everything disappears all at once. You heal by little spiraling out of illness, just like you spiraled down when you were getting sick, probably over many years. You start to see that you come out of illness in the reverse manner where one symptom is now gone or radically improved and your worst symptom is something new. It's something different. It was always there, but it's now the dominant symptom that you have to target. And if you know how to target your symptoms as your body's healing and change your routine, change your food combinations, change your diet and eating style or eating meal plan as you're continuing to heal, if you know how to use non-diet tips and tricks like targeted exercises that really help the digestive system recover so that your body's healing on its own, and you know how to shift what you're doing as your condition changes so that what you're doing now is reflecting your new symptoms or your symptoms that are now dominant, and you can do this process over and over, the body will heal on its own. Your symptoms will go away on their own. I've seen this, I've done it, I've helped thousands and thousands of other people figure out how to do it. And if you're in a situation where you need to heal from a chronic digestive illness like IBS, then you need to know about this ancient system. Thanks for watching, and remember, your body knows how to heal on its own.